We were talking about the political compulsions behind bank nationalization. Do you think that what Mrs. Gandhi did was out of political compulsions or a
No,
belief?
it is for you to use the word. It may be the political compulsion, it may be the political necessity. I think that it was both a political desirability and necessity that compelled Mrs. Gandhi. People who are critical of Mrs. Gandhi may say that it was her political compulsion. I don't think that it was her political astuteness, her political consciousness, and her political uh, will to take the nation in a particular direction that made her to nationalize the bank and to abolish the privy purses.
You know, at one stage, public sector units were seen as the commanding heights of economy. When you look back today, they are almost like white elephants. The accusation is that 200 billion rupee investment, 2.8% return, where the ordinary normal banking returns are supposed to be 8 or 10% at least.
That is true. The public undertakings are not doing well, and there has been many a flaw in their working. So, for that, the philosophy is not to be blamed. It was the administration that was faulty. They should have been given more autonomy. They should have been the professionals should have been given more say in taking decisions. But people try to blame the past without understanding the compulsions of that time. At that time, nobody was ready to invest in capital good industries because the investment was high, gestation period was long, profit was much less. Everybody wanted to have the investment in consumer good industry. Even today it is happening. After the liberalization, how many people have come for the capital industries to be invested in? They are indulging in Coca-Cola and Pepsi Colas and ice creams parlors and fast food parlors. So, this is the trend of industrial capitalists all over the world, that they want easy profits, and easy profits are available only in the consumer good industries. Two things happen: once you get easy profits, and other you change the habit of the people. Yeah, an austere society, which has been the trait of Indian culture, is being demolished in this country. It is not because of the poverty that Indian people indulge in austerity and simple living. When the India was one of the richest country of the world, even at that time, we preached that we should take from the society as little as possible. And this is what, if you go to the extent, I shall not like to go into the detail, it is the slogan which is being raised by the people about in the whole world. The slogan of sustainable development. Take the less from the society, from the nature, otherwise the nature will take revenge from you. This was understood by our seers and saints by their understanding of the whole nature, living in close identity with the nature. But unfortunately, everything that we inherited from our past is being ignored on the slogans of the people who have made some experiment in their laboratories. True, there were not scientific laboratories at that time, but the whole universe itself is a laboratory, and those who could understood the process and progress and the happenings in the whole universe, they evolved certain precepts for our people. Unfortunately, I don't say that you go for blindly following everything, but that was the situation. Pandit Nehru did not take to public undertakings as a free will, because nobody was ready to invest in this industry, and Pandit Nehru is known to have said that a country of India size cannot depend from outside resources for these basic capital goods. What was wrong in it? And I don't know if we are trying to invite all multinationals, and tomorrow something happens in the world and people refuse to give the basic needs, meet the basic needs of our country. What is going to happen to our independence? What is going to happen to our freedom to take decision about our future development?
You know, one last question I want to come to is the slogan of Garibi Hatao. After Mrs. Gandhi abolished privy purses and nationalized banks, she went for elections when the Congress had split and she had been expelled, I think. She went to the people with a very emotive slogan, Garibi Hatao. Now, what you were then with her, you were in fact part of that, the group that supported her ideologically even. What do you think were the motivating? Can you sort of
No,
recreate for us the
I tell
atmosphere
you,
then?
if you go into it, I shall not like to say anything which amounts to criticism of Mrs. Gandhi, because she is no more. But I shall like to make the record correct or clear that in March 1971 elections were held. It was in May 1971 when I have written an article in one of the papers that I was editing at that time, Young Indian, and also an article in the seminar edited by Ramesh Thapar. In those two journals, I have written that slogan of Garibi Hatao is being ignored, and it was not on my presumption, but in May 1971 Mrs Gandhi made a speech in the Chamber of Commerce which was just against what she has said before the elections. I said this type of slogan or this type of speech of Mrs Gandhi will not only go against her credibility, but people will lose in faith in the parliamentary institution. And in 1971, Mrs. Gandhi was on the pinnacle of her popularity. In 74, she was being criticized all around the country, and in 1975, she had to resort to emergency method to continue herself in power. So I am not trying to be wiser of the event. In May 1971, just after 3 months, I said that this is the wrong path which Mrs. Gandhi, the Prime Minister, has adopted. Uh, I don't want to go into more details. People who know the history of that time, in spite of all the pressures and all the talks of my joining the government, I never tried to go anywhere near the power, but I went on criticizing and cautioning the people that this is the wrong path, disastrous path. If they don't indulge in this type of slogan mongering without respecting the wishes and aspirations of the people, India has to face a difficult time. And unfortunately, we had to face a very difficult time, almost I say a black period of history in 1975. I don't want to go into the details of it. I said this much because it is in black and white, and people cannot say that I am becoming wiser after the event.
No, but I would like to sort of know, because a lot of people would like to know. In 1975, Mrs. Gandhi, imposed emergency. Some of you were arrested. In fact, you were one of the many who were arrested. What do you think made her change her mind to release all of you all and then have elections?
No, Mrs. Gandhi, I tell, basically was not a dictator. Mrs. Gandhi was a democrat. She cared for the wishes of the people. After 1.5 years, she realized that this method cannot lead her a long way, because she knew that by that method she cannot rule the country for a longer period. It was compulsion of the situation which made Mrs. Gandhi to go for elections, and she took a jump, whether in the dark, whether she will succeed or not. Many people say that she was assured by her advisors that she will get the majority, but what little I know of Mrs. Gandhi had the understanding and had her fingers on the pulse of the people, and she could not be misled by the advisors. She deliberately took this risk, and she failed at that time, but ultimately this was the courage and endurance of Mrs. Gandhi which brought her back to power again. Unfortunately, second time when she came to power, she had to suffer personal tragedies, and she could not come to herself in her past spirits. I shall not go into that detail. That was
One last question. What do you see is the future of India today? We are in a kind of a crossroads, 50 years down
No,
the
I
line.
tell you, future, I don't, distant future of India cannot be ever bleak. It is going to be a very powerful nation, because, not because I wish that, because if you go into the whole scenario, India is one of the country which has got all that nature can bestow upon any other land. A fertile land, beautiful climate, all type of crops, all type of fruits can be produced in this country. Almost every mineral resource is there. There is sea, there is river, there is mountain. Everest is there, Hind Mahasagar is there on the other side, Indian Ocean is on the other side. Desert is there, then the Gangetic and Kaveri Delta is there. So everything you can find, all the seasons you can find at the same time. If there is a place where snow is falling, the other is place where heat waves are going on. And above all, Indian people as such, this human resource, that manpower is the biggest asset of the country. A big manpower who can be satisfied with very little. Indian people does not want all the wonders of the world. They just want to survive in order to contribute something to the society. That has been the spirit. Unfortunately, this old precept or this old understanding or faith or belief has not been made to be realized by the Indian people, by the rulers in this country. Otherwise, if it mobilize all our resources, nothing is impossible. Almost 100 million young men and women who are in a position to contribute in different ways, whether they are educated or uneducated. Educated can remove illiteracy, uneducated can make this land more fertile, because millions of acres of land are waste that can be made culturable, but we are not able to pulling up our own resources, and we are hankering up for the help from outside. We need help from the outside, but we should not crave for that without utilizing all the resources that are at our disposal. That is the drawback. So I don't think India is going to die or going to be ignored by the world,
Or
whole world.
balkanized.
No, balkanized. I don't know. Temporary setbacks may be always there. As things are today, there is every possibility that there may be a process of disintegration, which is seeds have been sown by many people, and they are being shown in the present day politics, but it will be a temporary phase. Many a time India has been balkanized, but in spite of balkanized politically, culturally and spiritually, India has remained one. As I told you in the very beginning, that many rulers came, many faiths came, but India could not be divided mentally, and people remained together in spite of all difficulties and all the problems of their days.
Thank you very much.